I got a series of questions for you before we get to one of the hot topics about the best players in football and basketball, East Caucasus history. But what I want to ask you about first is that Coach Monroe made a comment to me a couple of years ago that he felt like if you and Royce Roberson would have went to Purdue, you guys have been playing in the NFL right now or getting ready to retire for the NFL right now. Hearing that kind of statement, give me some feedback on that.
I mean, I'm not for sure if that's entirely true. The guy, if I can remember, that was recruiting out of Purdue that time, was an East Chicago guy, and he played with Coach Money when they were in high school, I think, and they really wanted Royce more than they had wanted me. He didn't really push enough, I didn't think. I mean, they would recruit me, and I visited there, but I don't think they really wanted me as much as they wanted Royce. But I don't know. Who's to say what could happen if you go to different schools? Yeah, maybe it's a possibility. I mean, we were both of us were in-state players, so it could have been a benefit of going to Purdue. I don't know, but I know we had a lot to do with Wisconsin current success. I mean, as far as the building blocks back then, going to Wisconsin wasn't really heard of in the Big Ten at that time. And again, my freshman year we go to the Rose Bowl. Purdue don't have none of these that I know of.
Exactly.
So I mean, the college experience was, I wouldn't trade it, but it's a possibility. I mean, we could have probably went to Valpo and made it to the NFL too. I mean, recruiters look for players in the smallest places these days. You don't necessarily have to be at a big school to go to the NFL, but I respect Coach Monroe's opinion, and maybe he's seeing something that we didn't see, and that's what it was at that time. But
okay.
I mean, we're here now.
1991 football team, 10-1. Your senior year, 8-3. Who's better?
I'm gonna give it to the 10-1 team. My junior, that was a good team. And again, the statement that I made earlier, saying that my senior team, arguably, as a team-wise, was just as good, is because we made it, just as far as the previous year team did. Minus all those other great players that were seniors when I was a junior. So I just think that that 10-1 team was great. Probably one of the better teams, if not the best team that then came through, this area that they call the region now. My cousin was telling me this is called a region.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, but probably one of the best football teams, 5A at that time, that came through this region. But my senior year, I mean, we were hungry, and again, we went just as far, had just as many Division I players come off that team.
Yeah.
So I give it to the 10-1 team though, because we just had so much more talent. Those two teams combined put out some players.
Okay. Antoine Kennedy, wide receiver I played with, made a comment that my senior year team, which had a more of a passing offense, will destroy. He really say the team. He sort of said destroy Damon Glenn and whoever else is back there in coverage.
It was personal. It seemed like that was personal, Twan.
Yeah.
Not even close, man. Again, I talked about our secondary. Again, it was Kroom, Pachi, and me and Royce. So it's like, first of all, you better been trying to throw it to the sidelines. You better been making a perfect pass, and it better been over his outside shoulder on the sideline, so me or Royce wasn't gonna get to it when you was throwing it down the field. Anything down the middle of the field, man, we was getting our hands on flat out. So Twine would have probably been in big trouble. I don't even know if he would have caught a ball. It would have been, if he'd have caught a ball, he'd probably caught a little slant and got a few yards, but he wasn't gonna be making no big plays. And like most people tell you that when you get two fast safeties out there like that, man, covering the halves, it's like, really, you have to have a great quarterback. And I don't know who was your quarterback.
Yeah, we had Marcus Reed at the time. He wasn't really a great passing quarterback though. He's
Right.
option.
So I
Yeah.
don't see y'all putting up a whole bunch of passing yards. It didn't happen back then, and I don't see that team doing it.
Yeah.
Twine he'd have been in trouble, big time trouble.
All right. Earlier you made a comment about the history of athletes. What did you did you feel like going to a big program helped East Chicago Central players, or did it hinder? And I'm gonna say this because we felt, myself included, we felt so pressured on keeping your guys' tradition going to a Big Ten program, doing this, doing that we didn't really focus on the task at hand, was winning as a team and having success. It was more about individual. So do you feel like, I'm not trying to blame you guys, but do you feel like your guys' big time success on going to Wisconsin hindered or helped?
I don't think it should have hindered. If anything, it helped, because now you got more college recruiters and more college programs knowing that this school in this area have athletes. So I think it opened up the door for more kids after us to have exposure. I mean, they may be coming to see a certain player that they heard about, say, from Hammond, and they want to go see him, but they know East Chicago got some players. So a recruiter will make that trip just to see, who we gonna see from East Chicago, because we know they got a pool of players around here. So I think we opened up the door and kind of made it easier for the kids after us to get that exposure, for sure.
Gotcha.
Before Big Rob, I don't know, what's his name? Scott Upshaw.
Yeah.
May have been the only person before Big Rob that got a Division I scholarship.
Yeah.
And he went to Ball State, if I can remember.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think I think.
Well, I know, like, Scott went to Ball State, but I know, like, other people got scholarships at other schools, but it wasn't as big as Ball State. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, people who know football and know how the process works know that usually a college is going to find you. If you're a good the NFL is going to find you from any college. I mean, you have a lot of these linemen in different skill positions in the NFL now. You hear some of the colleges they come from when they're on Monday Night Football, people be like, well, where is that?
Yeah.
Northeast Louisiana, Lafayette State, Georgia. You know what I mean? But they're in the NFL.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I mean, you get more competition. You definitely get more competition at the bigger schools.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot easier to probably make it to the NFL from one of those smaller schools, because how the NFL scouts and they look for players. But I believe that you're only as good as your competition. Competition always made me better. So I don't have no regrets going to a bigger school. And the guys that came after us and even during our time, because I think Ted Compton ended up going to.
He was Valparaiso, yeah.
So, and I'm pretty sure, I'm not for sure, I kind of lost contact with Ted after we went off to college, but Jahi ended up going to Northern Illinois.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Division I.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I'd say a big program, the competition is much better. I mean, much better. Again, when I got to Wisconsin, there was tons of athletes there. But you could still make it from one of those smaller schools. But it'd probably take more dedication and more commitment and perseverance.
Yeah.
At some of those smaller schools, that has less tradition.
Question I always ask all the athletes is that E'Twaun Moore, basketball,
right.
Great basketball player. And then right now we have Keywan Short playing D tackle at Purdue. These guys are sort of glorified, not saying glorified in a bad way, but glorified because of the failures of other athletes. Do you feel like us coming from East Chicago, not having that background, not really playing football long enough to where we have more success in college and also in life, does that? I mean, as far as you got a degree, which is the ultimate goal. I'm talking about the Martell Francis, those type of guys who just as good as you or probably on the same level as you, not make it. Do you feel like East Chicago is doing something wrong, or is it in that player, or what?
Man, it's, I mean, that's like a social issue right there, and I think it goes back to, everything needs to start in the house, you know, and let's call it a house East Chicago. There were some mentors around here, older guys, that used to be out in Calumet and stuff like that, you know, uh, sometime. But yeah, it's just a tradition, man. A lot of guys, a lot of athletes over the years. I mean, it was like playing for East Chicago Roosevelt or East Chicago Washington, East Chicago Central was like as high as like a lot of those guys seen it, to be like a local superstar. And um, I guess just that whole mindset, a lot of people see a lot of people as being so-called failures for not making it to the next level, but it's a lot of urban communities where that's the same story. Like nationwide, everywhere I used to go, with different teammates and stuff to the areas, whether I was going to Milwaukee or Chicago to Ohio, everybody always had a story about a local superstar and more than one.
Wow.
I think here, man, it can be a lot more support. Just over the years since I've been gone, I left here uh, August of '93 to go up to UW, and it's been a lot of different athletes, basketball and football, that have passed through them same halls I did uh, before, and I think a lot more guys should have went to bigger schools or just made it to any kind of school. Um, some of that could fall on me. Some of that could fall on some of my other peers by not always coming back and keeping it fresh in these kids' mind that you can do it. You can do it by exposing ourselves to our own community. I think that would help too. With like some of the other people. Maybe if Kenny Lofton would come back more and expose himself more, saying to the community and stuff like that, it would give people more of a feeling that they can do it too, and that they can make it. So ultimately it falls on our peers, my shoulders, and everybody else's shoulders that's older than the youth. We have to give back and just be able to share our experience and just life in general, and I think that can help to be able to go up to Central to a football game, if they hopefully they're in another big football game again, and they need a pep talk, and they have some of the old alumni like you, me, or somebody come back, and if I come back and I had this Rose Bowl ring on, and I have some of the posters and stuff, I show you like, look, I played and I sat right here, right where you sitting at, and you can do it too. I think we have to come back, or somehow reach back out, to the community and to athletics. Since we're talking about athletics, to kids that's doing athletics, and let them know that this can get you somewhere. When it doesn't look like life around here may not be leading to nothing, that okay, I'm gonna give you some information that I have about this outlet that got me higher in life. So I just think we need to come back as a community, man. On another note, Junior Bridgman, East Chicago legend.
Yeah.
He owned every Wendy's in the state of Wisconsin, and I don't even know the man. I've been in Wisconsin for, since the summer of '93, and he's a legend in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And here I'm right from East Chicago, and I don't even know the man. Stuff like that. Because this is a small community when you think about it. Everybody know everybody, really, growing up in East Chicago. Even though it was a harbor in Calumet, everybody know everybody. There's only one high school. How can you not know everybody?
Exactly.
And I think us as a community need to, whatever we can do to give back to this community, because it's a lot of good people that's here now and that came from here. And we, to the people that left, need not to forget where you from, because you can still get love right here in East Chicago. I mean, it's not a lot when I come home. It changes every time I come home. It's not a whole lot here, but I still get the sense of being at home when I come back, and I still got love for East Chicago, and the E'Twaun Moores, and what's the other kid you said went to Purdue?
Kewan Short.
Kewan Short. I've seen a few games of him. Playing against Ohio State this year, and it's good to as a past Big Ten guy seeing that.